I am the body snatcher. You know we love tummy tucks on this show. Welcome back to Boxing.
Welcome back, loyal fight fans, to another round of Boxing. Today we are a day late, but not an episode short. Nonetheless, fitting it in this week for a great weekend of fights. If you're a boxing fan, you knew to come here, didn't you? Now, I want to touch on something before we jump right into all these great boxing fights. If you're an MMA fan, I'm going to refer you to the End New MMA show, A&D, and New MMA show. They have a great podcast, a little more professional than your boy right here, but nonetheless inspired with the passion for the sport all the same. And they'll be covering the entire card because this is a gigantic UFC card. So I'd recommend that when you're done here listening to your boxing picks, your breakdowns of a great weekend that is stacked this weekend for boxing, you go to another channel that will better suit you for your MMA predictions, your MMA breakdowns and whatnot. And that is the End New MMA podcast. Hopefully, I'll be getting back on there for a second time as the number one guest of that show. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. This is really, so just to start you off right here, okay? This is a big weekend of boxing because we have Ryan Garcia taking on Emmanuel Tagoe, okay? And on that same undercard, this is on the Golden Boy Oscar De La Hoya promotions. On that same undercard, we got Gabriel Rosado, the Puerto Rican Rocky. You know we love him on this show. He is back fighting Shane Mosley Jr. That's a fantastic fight to stack on to a Ryan Garcia main event. That's a good card for once from Oscar De La Hoya. God bless him. We also, on the other side of DAZN, we also in Japan have Triple G making his long-awaited return versus Ryota Murata. That's going to be an epic fight to touch on. And then even on the ESPN top card, if this suits your fancy, you got the Aussies, the Aussie twins back, the Maloney brothers both fighting on that card, and Michaela Mayer headlining that ESPN card as well. And on Showtime, you got Erickson Lubin taking on Sebastian Formella. You're going to have Tony Harrison on that undercard. So this is really just a great week of boxing. We're going to touch on as much as we can, just kind of because there's so many fights. Usually, you got to understand, we're picking a main event or two, even if there's, multiple promotions putting on good quality fights. Sometimes we do two, maybe could fit a third in there, but this is just stacked. And for the short segment we keep for this show, in the short attention span of America, we're trying to fit you in there, baby. So we're going to touch on the most important ones. And I'm going to start off with the Ryan Garcia versus Emmanuel Tagoe. So Emmanuel Tagoe he's from Ghana. He's from a region in Ghana that actually a lot of really tough fighters have come out of. Good fighters, but really the word would be tough fighters that have come really close to pulling some big upsets and had good careers still. Nonetheless, they come just this region, in Ghana is kind of known for that. He's one of these guys. So not that this couldn't be a sneaky fight, but I just don't see it. I think out of all the fights, I think Ryan Garcia, certainly if it's the Ryan Garcia that we all, had know and love, or whether you like him or not, if it's the Ryan Garcia that we know of, that has always been in the ring so far, this will be a short night, and Emmanuel's going to get his order to go. Okay, that's a bad dad joke, but we're throwing it out there. So the odds on that fight is Tagoe's a plus 900, for God's sakes. Ryan Garcia minus 2,000. And really, I mean, that is kind of fair. The only little point that I'd make about this fight is that, Ryan Garcia, much more skilled boxer, right? Hits very hard as well. Tagoe's a tough guy, got a little chin on him. He'll knock people out, sometimes goes the distance as well. So he's got good cardio, but he's a come forward style fighter. So this really just plays right into Ryan Garcia, pinpoint precise, catching that counter shot and just ending the night, literally at any moment. I wouldn't see this fight going the distance whatsoever if we get the Ryan Garcia that we're used to seeing. That's the only thing to touch on about this fight, really, is that it's really all about Garcia, not just as being the name that headlines the card there, and you don't really know the other guys. We fucking love boxing, don't we? But yeah, not just because of that. It's really about him in the sense that, you know, he's a rising more than a prospect, right? He's in the talks as one of the four princes, as they call it now. That's really now five people, unless you know, Teofimo Lopez really gets out of that lightweight division since George Kambosos won, and then you got Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko. You even could throw Tank Davis in there, and you also have Ryan Garcia. These are the guys that everybody talks about that would be at the top that they think should fight one another. But Garcia's only real test that he's had so far is that last fight he had with Luke Campbell. Emmanuel Tagoe, his only good performance was his only good stiff level of competition that he's fought was his last fight. That was also in, almost 2 years ago now in 2020, when he beat Mason Menard. And Mason Menard's a decent name to have on your record, so he gets credit for that. But I just don't think he's on the same level as Ryan Garcia. They're both coming off of long layoffs. And the only thing to touch on is that, Ryan Garcia left Eddie Reynoso, left the Canelo gym, and that's where he had kind of built himself up and been trained this entire time. Now he's with another fantastic trainer. Not a step down, just a step over, just a preference of your taste, but a Hall of Fame trainer nonetheless in Joe Goosen. And Joe Goosen's going to try to do him justice. It's not that that's even a step down from another great trainer in Eddie Reynoso. It's just that, and listen, he said that really it's a Canelo gym, and that's true. I believe in this. So he has love and respect for Canelo, and that's why they did get along. But he's trying to make his own career. This was kind of Garcia's point on leaving Reynoso. It's just that he likes the coach, he likes Canelo, he doesn't want ill will. But they kind of said, he said that, it's really about Canelo at that gym. And, go figure. It really is about Canelo at that gym. So he said, that he's just not getting in the training time that he needed and the focus as much as he needed, as they're really kind of their star boy there as Canelo. And then you got another A-class star in Ryan Garcia that's trying to kind of fight for attention. That's how Ryan put it, but then you hear from Canelo and Eddie Reynoso, and they say that, he's not showing up as much as he should have been for training, and that they were there to give him the attention, but he just wasn't training that hard and sometimes wasn't showing up, and Garcia completely denies this. We're really just, no one knows, and we don't usually talk about outside the ring stuff here, but this is a fight set in stone for this Saturday, and I think that that's just such a important thing to mention, because it's not as if this is such a steep level of competition, especially coming off a fight with Luke Campbell, who gave Vasily Lomachenko, a decent effort in a fight and has some good names on his record. He's kind of a star A-class boxer in the UK. So that was a great win, and just don't get it wrong. Ryan Garcia is on a way different level than Emmanuel Tagoe, but the only thing, like I said, to mention here is what state of mind is Ryan Garcia in, coming off of saying that he's having mental health issues, even contemplating suicide, then leaving the gym that he's always been a part of. That's a very famous gym and under the kind of tutelage of Reynoso and Canelo at the same time. But going over to Joe Goosen, I think he does get the job done. We're taking Ryan Garcia. That's really the only thing is he just way different? Has this time not suited him well? We don't know what kind of training he's been putting in with a new trainer, coming off of these mental health things, so on and so forth. And then after that, we're going to touch on the Triple G Ryota Murata fight. So most important thing about this fight, right? You guys all know who Triple G is. Let me just I think the most important thing that I can offer you is to talk more really about Ryota Murata. Murata's first off, you guys may not know his name, but he's like the second biggest boxing star in Japan, only second to Naoya Inoue, who is on everybody's within their top 3 pound for pound list. So lo and behold, of course, he's the most famous, and he's young and he's flashy and he knocks everybody out. Ryota Murata has been fighting for a while, and as kind of was that star really of Japan until Naoya Inoue came over and started his pro career, the monster. From Japan there. So, Murata's a gold medal Olympian, who, not just even silver, not just medaling, but a gold medal Olympian. He is no scrub whatsoever. And also another interesting fact is these guys were supposed to fight already 6 different times. 6 different times they were actually supposed to make this fight. This isn't a throw together fight as you might think that it would be, because of saying, oh, Triple G, we just want him back. And then who's this guy? Okay, they're giving him somebody to come back to. Not really. Long before Triple G and Canelo had their first fight even, Triple G and Ryota Murata were supposed to fight then. And that got scratched one time. Then he fought, obviously Triple G fought Canelo. Very disputed draw there where, I do think Triple G won that first fight. I think that was a bit of a robbery to call it a draw. But nonetheless, of course, then you couldn't move on to that fight still because that's very debatable and that shouldn't have been a draw and that he should have really won that fight. So they do the rematch with Canelo. I totally give that second one to Canelo. But nonetheless, he has that going on. Then they were supposed to fight. They set that fight up again with Murata, and it fell through again. This fight was set up more recently as to, I think, a month ago or 2 months ago, and it fell through. Not sure if that was an injury on one of their... I doubt it was an injury, maybe some sort of illness at the time, feeling, sick or whatnot. One of them, I don't really know. But this fight should have been made 6 times. And actually the first time, like I said before that, so back in 2017 was the first time that these guys were supposed to fight one another. Murata's strong, but Triple G might still be stronger. Your strength is the last to go, even though Triple G is getting a little over the hill, and not just in age, but in ability and through the wars he's been in. So Triple G, had both those Canelo fights that went all 12 rounds, and those took a lot out of him. Dude, and especially at an older age. And that was kind of like Canelo almost waiting him out a little. Before those 2 back-to-back, they shared the ring for 24 rounds. Triple G also, in my opinion, should have lost that fight with Sergey Derevyanchenko. That's another absolute fucking war that he was in. Really takes it out of you. Then you put in his age. Then you put in a long layoff. You put in all these things, and his performances have not been great. I think he should have lost that Sergey Derevyanchenko fight. But nonetheless, they gave it to him. He moved on. He beat Selecki, but Selecki's not just he's not an A-class fighter. He's not on the level of Triple G. And then when you look at it, it's of course he got Selecki out of there, but that's nothing too much to be impressed with, right? So I do think Triple G is on the decline a little bit, and I think that we'll see that in this fight, but it's to what extent we see it in. I do think that out of these 2 big main events, by a long shot, the odds are closer to kind of reflect this, but not that close. Just closer than the outstanding odds for the Garcia fight. But besides that, it didn't matter what the odds were. This one's the one that, it could surprise you. Murata could win this fight. If Triple G doesn't show up to where it's done him justice having some time off and getting in the training, and it's more like a thing like the time off kind of didn't help him, and then he's been older, and his performances have been on the decline. Through his last fights that you can see, as I just talked about. If we get any sort of Triple G that's visually just really less than himself, he's never been super fast, by the way. Triple G's just a tough brute, brawler, boxer, and he is very strong, and he'll stand there and trade shots with you. He does use his jab very good. That's the key here to me, though. He does use his jab a lot, which is great to have, being as he's not relying on being slick and moving around the ring. He's kind of stalking all the time, and he really wants to get people out of there because he's got dogs in his hands. But he doesn't just rely on that, because he'll be prodding that jab all night, And I think that's going to be the difference maker in a fight that otherwise could have been close, because Murata's got youth on his side. He's fighting in Japan at home. That's on his side. And he is strong as well, but strength the last thing to go. I think Triple G's a little bit stronger. And the thing about Murata, as good as he is, and this will be an entertaining fight, because Murata will come and fight with Triple G, dude. He's not going to dance around at all. They're going to meet each other and fight, and that will make for a good fight no matter what the outcome is. I guarantee that. But I think the difference maker is that if you could look at anything that Murata kind of doesn't do well or doesn't have going for him, it's that he doesn't really use head movement. He's not a slick guy whatsoever. And so I think that he'll be getting his head just snapped back with the jab all night. Even if Triple G doesn't get him out of there, I think that jab's a safe bet for him to win a decision. So I will ride with Triple G for this. And then Gabriel Rosado versus Sugar Shane Mosley Jr., dude. I mean, what more can you say about the Puerto Rican Rocky? First off, you know, Shane Mosley Jr., what a great fighter, too. This will be a great fight. These are close odds. This is a fantastic, fan-friendly fight for boxing, and thank God, because we need these kind of fights. But we also just, in general, we need people like Gabe Rosado, because that fucking guy has not taken an easy fight just ever. I've been a fan of his for a while. Everybody starts their career, you know, with a little bit of like, okay, if you're what you look like, a couple gimmies. But most people just kind of stick with that as long as they can. And they get to be 30-0 or whatever before they start having tough challenges. I literally can't remember the last time that Gabe Rosado took a fucking gimme fight. And this ain't it either. He's just riding on. And that's why he has losses. When you look at Rosado's records, he has a lot of wins, but he's almost like a quarter percentage. I think I don't remember his record, but I know it's something like 30-14 or 36-14 or something. So it's not the best record to look at. But those reasons why he has those losses at all is because they're all like very good guys. And then within that time period, he upset Beck the Bully with that knockout of the year, absolutely vicious. Coming back from a first round where he got dropped 3 goddamn times, and coming in to the next round to just put the guy away with a perfect counter when he looked out of the fight and move out of the way and let him fall into the middle turnbuckle between the ropes. It's just fucking outstanding. And I'll never get over it. I love this guy, and we need people like this guy in boxing. Sergey Derevyanchenko, who will probably retire now, and we've touched on him a lot before, is that, you know, he's another guy that is like how I like him. I like Gabriel Rosado. I like these guys that always are in tough fights. So it doesn't matter to me if they have some losses. Their only losses are because they're fighting fucking the best people. You know, I also think that Rosado should have maybe edged that little bit boring fight, really, which is rare for him. But I think he really took his boxing abilities to the next level when he fought Daniel Jacobs. And I think he should have pulled that upset off. That was a damn close fight that you totally could have gave to Gabe Rosado. He did pull off the Beck the Bully vicious knockout upset, you know, and then he didn't stand. He put in a great effort, though it was a losing effort. Put in and made it a competitive fight against. I'm fucking forgetting his name now. Oscar De La Hoya's boy, the next Mexican. Super Jaime Munguia. He put in a great effort against Munguia, but it was a losing fight. You know, he lost that fight, but he put in a great effort there that was a little closer than people give credit for. And yeah, he's just fought everybody, man. And here he goes now fighting Sugar Mosley Jr. The odds for this goddamn fight are, they actually favor Rosado. They're showing him a little love here at minus 300. Mosley Jr.'s plus 220. So those are pretty good odds as far as boxing goes. And by the way, the Triple G fight, he's a minus 500 to Murato's plus 250. And then you have Erickson Lubin taking on Sebastian Fundora. You know, these odds are so tight, and this will be a great fight. Now, normally I might say maybe Erickson Lubin because of the fact that Fundora is an extraordinarily tall guy who does not fight tall and likes to fight like he's short and fight on the inside. And that's a very weird thing, but he's been making work for himself this whole time. I don't see the benefit in doing it, but he's been winning. And these odds are real tight. These are pick-em odds for boxing. They got Erickson Lubin as a favorite of minus 155 and Sebastian Fondora at plus 125. And so just because these odds are so close, and because it deservingly is so close that this is a competitive fight, you might as well pick the dog and pick the tall boy Fondora to fight on the inside again and actually win doing it that way, which is a little bit weird. So yeah, and that's our parlay right there. We got actually some UFC fights that we parlayed. So here's the thing. My bookie, I used my bookie, so I like my bookie. But they've been weird sometimes, and this is a week like it. I'm just gonna put this out there because we're talking normal here. I want to put some money on this parlay that I specifically have been making, attached with some UFC fights. They won't allow you to parlay any one of these damn boxing matches together with another boxing match. So you have to pick one and then parlay that with all the UFC fights you pick for some reason. They do not let me parlay any more than one fight. They don't even let you add a second boxing fight in. They'll let you parlay any one of them with other UFC fights, other sports, but not them together. And they've done this before, and it makes me a little bit frustrated. But nonetheless, if we have to pick one, because we have several UFC picks to give here, we are going to go with Triple G over Murata just because of the fact that that's the minus 500, and there's no point to put in a minus 2,000 favorite in Garcia, right? You could do the Gabriel Rosado. You could do that one because he's only a minus 300, so that's better for your money. But that's a very competitive fight, and I do fear that either way, no matter who wins, that is a competitive fight. Very pick-em odds, even more than the odds show. I think it's closer than that even, because he's fighting Shane Mosley Jr. But yeah, you could pick that, but I have a fear that I'm being a little bit biased about it because I love Gabriel Rosado so much. So we went for a safe pick to give you guys that we did put on a parlay here. We went with the Triple G fight. So we went Triple G at minus 500 to beat Murata, just flat out, and not a stoppage thing because this might go the distance, depending on which Triple G we get. Then we have easy one, Alexander Volkanovski at minus 700 in UFC odds. Check that shit out. To beat Chan Sung Jung, the Korean zombie. So that's the safest fight out of all of these goddamn fights. That fight is not going to be that competitive. I'll tell you that right now. Unless, sometimes you get shocked, man. Sometimes you get shocked, but I don't see that fight being that competitive. And then we have Peter Yan at minus 500 to beat Aljamain Sterling. I think that's self-explanatory if you know anything about these goddamn guys. Though I do think Aljamain shows maybe a better account of himself here, having the experience of seeing how tired he got, gassing himself out in the first round and still getting dropped in that round even. And then just getting fucking tripped, just sweeps all day long. All I remember from that fight is attempted takedown stuff, and fucking sweeping this guy's legs out literally like 7 times, Peter Yan was. So, yeah, we're riding with Peter Yan for that one. Khamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Darino Burns. Khamzat Chimaev is a minus 540, and he hasn't fought anybody that's near the damn level of Gilbert Burns, and so I would have liked to pick Gilbert Burns, but last second choice, we're going with the hype train. We're putting Khamzat Chimaev and taking him at a crazy minus 540. He should not be that goddamn much of a favorite, really. That's so doing injustice to Gilbert Burns, but nonetheless, we're going with that. And then a good one just to add on with some closer money to this parlay would be Mike Malev over Mickey Gall. Just because I don't know much about this Mike Malev, but I just don't think Mickey Gall is all that good. And I've seen a lot of his fights, and he loses a lot. And I think that's a pretty safe pick. And that's only out of minus 200 favorite for Mike. So if you parlay all those together, you're getting plus 198 odds. Last I checked, that when I put it in, that's the odds I'm getting. So plus $200 for your money ain't bad. $50 to put on it, you get your $50 back and win $100. We're gonna ride with that for our parlay. There it is. If you can see it at all, the maniaco is at work with this chicken scratch right here. And yeah, great weekend of fights. Go check out a new MMA show. Hopefully you'll see your boy on there again. And until next time, loyal fight fans, good luck on the parlay. God bless, and enjoy the beautiful weather if you live anywhere that's not completely shitty.